All righty, guys. Welcome to Coffee Experts Club. Tasha in the house. Great to see you. Um, excited about our topic for today. I'll stop my share now.
We got our Ben back.
We got our Ben back, right, Drew? Can the question comes down to it? Can Drew Moody and I hold down the fort? The answer is yes. But when it comes down to it, without Ben, it's like peanut butter and jelly. You know what I'm saying? Peanut butter's still good on its own, but jelly,
And I am the bread that holds this sandwich together.
That's good. That's good. I'll take it. I'll take it like that. All righty, guys. Well, hey, rolling into a new month here. I think today's the beginning of a first new topic, People 3.0, and I'm pretty excited about it. Obviously, each level is building up and building on things we've covered previously downstream, but we're going to talk today about the power of the visionary and order, right? The two of them working together. How you need vision, but you also need order. Like one without the other is not good either way. And we were talking about it as we were brainstorming and thinking about how we could bring something to a meeting that would really meet where people are at. And I think that that's one of the things we at the Collab team see most, like if not always, one of the biggest pain points is visionaries that lack order, where it's just everything's on fire. Everything's always on fire. There's always something. It's always something that's crazy. It's all shiny object syndrome. They're chasing every new thing, every new exciting thing. You meet with them one day and it's this. You meet with them literally the next day and it's this. You meet with them the very next time and it's this. And it's like, wait a minute, what about 3 iterations ago when you told me this thing was like the most important thing this year? We can't lose track of this. And they're like, oh yeah, no, this is the new thing. But all that means is that this is what has their attention right now. We've all probably been in situations like that with visionaries who lead that way. On the flip side of that, obviously there's also the sides of things that are too ordered, right? Everything has nuts and bolts and everything is super organized and it's just dry and boring. It's what makes bureaucracy, right? It's what makes corporate America feel like corporate America, of just like everything's super rigid and mechanical and robotic. And instead of being able to see, no, this thing has life. I think that all of us here on this call can all appreciate small to medium business, that there's just something that feels electric when you're in the middle of something that's small, something that you can still control, or something you can still affect, influence by you doing what you do. Any of you that have worked for bigger things, usually that's the one big drawback is what influence can I really have here? They're set on trajectory. My opinion, maybe they might nominally listen to what I have to say, but really they're just placating me. So I think that as we meet today and talk through the different sides of business, we're going to talk about a tool that all of us on this call are super familiar with, on how to help manage visionary direction and directive, with also being able to give them a stream to play in. So I think that's a big part of it. But I know, Drew, you and Ben are very familiar with being led by visionaries that can be erratic at times. You guys want to speak to that just a little bit?
Yeah, it's the it's the visionary is the person who's saying, let's go this way. This is where we're going. And not always saying this is how we get there. It's right. It's more of a leading the charge. And yeah, generally your path can be really zigzagged when it's an erratic. Things trickle down from the visionary, and you need people who catch those things from the visionary so that they can keep trickling things down, and not really worry all the time. But it's an inspiring person to follow, and it can be also a very good teacher, because all the things that you have to pick up along the way.
Yeah, I do think that usually is the stopgap for the visionary. Is he's super excited about where he wants to go. And usually the way he's gotten to where he is he can move people so that they can help him to get where he wants to go. But usually if left to themselves, the visionary's main go-to tactic is ramrodding it through, right? Like he's just going to push and push and push and push until he gets that accomplished. But a lot of times it's not the most efficient. It's not the best thought through. It's just whatever it took to get it there was what he did or she did. But the downside can be there's not much longevity in that. There's not much scalability in that unless you start putting some order in place. Otherwise, it's new every single time. Every time you do it, it's a new system. Every time you're dropping balls because nobody ever lined it out. Ben, I know you experienced that at some level. You want to speak to that for a minute?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really easy way to burn your people out.
Yes.
If you're not careful without order, if it's just constant, chaos, that if you don't burn them out physically, you'll burn them out, just mentally with the business. Like I just created this report last week because you said it was the most important thing, and if we're not watching these things, and the business is going to go under, and then months later it's like the report's not important anymore, and you're like, great, I wasted all that time building this thing, and now we don't need it anymore. But it's true though, like on the flip side, if you don't have somebody who's exciting and inspiring, you end up working for the post office. I've never met anybody who was like, I love working for the post office. This boring, dry bureaucracy where you are just a cog in the wheel. It's a very fine line to walk. And I'm yet to meet a CEO of a quickly growing company who walks that line very well. Because it is, I don't know if you can walk that line well. Like it's personalities are personalities, and you need the yin to the yang. If you're a strong, visionary, inspiring person, you're not going to be good at a lot of other things, but you are really good at being a strong, inspiring visionary. So you need somebody who is sort of the antithesis of you, like the Bruce Wayne to the Batman, or the Bruce Banner to the Hulk. Like you need the opposite side of you, because especially with, it seems like visionaries, with how strong their personalities are and how inspiring they are, it usually means there's a lot of other areas, or orderly areas in their lives, that they aren't as strong, because that part of their personality takes up so much energy. And that's where ops people come in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely think that if everybody can enter into this conversation with humility, right? Like just come humble, realize that because a lot of times there can be so much ego tied into a visionary, right? Because they've, especially successful ones, whatever they're doing got them there. So what do you have to say about what got them there? You know what I mean? But but how far is that going to last? How far is that going to go? And really, when you dig into it, was it all you, or did you have people that were operations based that maybe you just built on over time? And like Ben said, you burnt them out, but it just plugged in the next cog, right? And they got to the next level and burnt them out, and then plugged in the next cog. And I'm pretty confident that visionaries, especially ones that aren't very operationally based, they built on the backs of somebody, right? So be humble enough to realize, yes, your vision is important, but it's not the only thing. And then for the ops person, there can be kind of like a subtle, snarky ego in it if you're not careful, of like almost condescending this guy, of because we're so much more organized, because we have so much more dialed in, and then we can almost take pot shots at this guy all the time, because this guy a lot of times can be hectic, hair on fire, hard to handle, always erratic, always something new. And this guy over here whose life is pretty ordered, or this gal over here that's pretty ordered, can very easily, from a place of ego and pride, feel like that guy's always doing this, she's always doing that, and they can rally people around him. And I had a conversation with one of our clients last week. He was wanting to hire a COO, but he was going out on paternity leave, right? They were just getting ready to have a baby, and they were going to try and hustle in a COO. And I told him, hey, listen, be really careful with that operations voice. Right? Be like, if you hire in somebody new and then you exit as the CEO, as the visionary, you're leaving the COO at the helm with a whole new voice, probably a whole different set of value, because he's more organized than you are. And he's the one oftentimes that's speaking the language of the doers, right? You've got people in the organization that are helping with customer experience, or helping with inventory management, or helping with scheduling. All those are very orderly things. So this guy's voice, this girl's voice, can have a lot of sway in your company. I would strongly suggest, and it was obviously a little bit of a shameless pitch for Collab Team, of why don't you just engage with us for the window of time you want to go on paternity? And you know us. We've been embedded in your company the last year. Like, just increase your retainer with us and let us just hold the space, rather than bringing in another small voice, because that can rift a company really fast. You've got the visionary that's going to speak to the people that like that mercurial energy, like the super up and super high energy and super going all the time. And then you have others that are like, yeah, but bro, I've got to clean up all that guy's messes. So this end can start really resonating with operations. And if they don't see that humble value for each other, there are all kinds of companies that are split all the time
Mhm.
because of two different voices. And I think it's important for us to come to the conversation, all of us, wherever we fit in that, whether we're a visionary now or leading a company now, or we will someday, that we come into a humility of realizing I need the yin for the yang, right? I need the balance because I can't be everything, no matter how great I think I am. I need the balance of it. So I think it's super important for us to consider. Typically it's the visionary that comes up with the vision. Drew, I called on you last week. Ben wasn't here. So I thought I could call on you again if you would love to step forward with it. But I know at Roasters, Wes started with a very simple vision, and he told me he had no idea it was going to become the things it became. And when he came up with his mission statement, he kind of pulled it out of his ass a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like, I don't think that he put a bunch of time and energy into it, but it really became the mantra for Roasters. And not only the vision, the vision statement, but it became the core concepts that funneled down after that. So I thought we could talk about that a little bit, and then talk about how we can backfill and bring order to the vision, order to the mission, and talk about that a little bit today.
Yeah, it's like picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So when you create this nice dynamic of a story, it's the visionaries, the creator of the story, then that mission statement ties directly into the whole story of the company and the trajectory. So even a simple, 2-sentence, 1-sentence mission statement, it can create, quite a buzz when people start reading into, what does it mean to serve people, or what does it mean to create an excellent product? What does it mean to be there for your customers? And as it resonates differently with everybody, because there's the processes of art, and it's the artist has their perspective, and then the receiver of the art has a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
Well, and then people create a whole community around it.
Absolutely. Do you remember? Can you rehearse off the top of your head Wes's mission statement?
Of
You ready,
course.
Ben? Are you going to embrace this, Ben? Here it comes.
We first exist to create exceptional coffee.
Yes.
Once we have great coffee, serve one another, and in serving we find meaning. And we actually had a nice huge mural painted on the wall with a handprint stamp next to the "in serving we find meaning," because it just resonated deeply with that artist.
Yeah. So, and then from there, it led into what our service promises were, right? Or our core concept,
Yep.
which was speed, service, strength. Was that what it was?
Yeah.
And how did each one of those work? Like, what did each one of those mean for that particular business?
So speed was obviously, we set time goals for our drink prep and car times. We didn't want people waiting over a certain amount of time. And we stuck to that quite religiously, as hard as we could all the time, and improved upon it as we got car timers. And we'd look at our flow, and we'd fix our flow. And then we'd look at, the products we were using and how to streamline the processes behind them. Service was being there, obviously, for the customer, which, annotated 12 concepts of never turn your back, always greet people, always say goodbye. And, be there, be a real person, be yourself, because that's what people want. They want to come to a place and feel the good vibes, which we kind of talked about last week. When you have happy baristas and you walk into a coffee shop, that's going to be a world different than a bunch of upset baristas. Even before they say anything, you're going to notice.
Yeah.
And then strength was just the quality of our product and service. And if we try not to mismake drinks. We try not to have to ask the customer 100 times what they ordered. And we try to make the consistent product every time across all stores.
Yeah. Ben, anything to add to all that? What are your thoughts on mission, vision, and the way that you saw it roll out, especially at Roasters? I know you and Drew both came out of a very strong coffee culture, something that Wes built from the ground up, like from one store that was, a fallout of a franchise failed with Dutch Bros, right? As far as not failed, but exited. Wes saying, I don't want to be a part of this system anymore, got into a legal battle with Dutch Bros, won, and then went off to start, Roasters. That was the beginning of his story. And I feel like it gave him this real fighter spirit using these kind of mission, vision, and then service promises. How do you feel like that fleshed out from the beginning? Because I know you started at the beginning with Wes, obviously, drank the Kool-Aid from the start, and then stayed with it for 9 years before you exited.
Yeah, it's funny. I would have said that when I started, which would have been, 2009, that was what, 2012, 13 years ago, 13. Oh my God, 13 years ago.
You're an old man, bro. Now you're talking to neighbors about cutting down the trees on your neighbor's property. Whoever would have thought.
But I would have said that for that generation of workers, like the 18 to 20-year-olds in 2009, mission and vision weren't really as important for a company or a business or a small business or trying to grow a small business. It's much more so important now with the generation of worker that's in these positions, because this generation of worker very much more so wants to be a part of something, a cultural movement, a progress towards something. I think in 2009, I think my age range generation is sort of like the last generation of like, I just need a job for money. I don't care who my boss is. I don't care who my workers are. I just want a paycheck. Leave me alone after I get my paycheck. I'm gonna go do my own thing. After that, it's sort of changed into this like, no, my workplace is an extension of my family. It's an extension of my friends. It's where I work is an extension of who I am as a person. So having a mission and a vision that's very clearly defined and sort of encapsulates the culture that you want in your company is really important these days. A lot of people join and leaves jobs not based on the paycheck, but based on the company culture and based on the mission of the company, the vision of the company. Is this company, using sustainable resources? Is this company being, an advocate for whatever movement is going on at the time? So being clear with that, and I think sticking to what that mission is really important for your culture, because it says, okay, this is who I want, or what I want the culture of my company to be. And I want this to be the culture for the next 20 years. And you can depend on this being how we are as a company. And you can depend on the fact that if you join this company, you join this vision, then you can sideline with this culture and become a part of your culture, of who you are as a person. That's a lot of what kids are looking for these days, is 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds. So super important.
Yeah. Drew, I know that you really, a lot of your role at Roasters, especially as we began to grow, you came at a time in Roasters where we were growing pretty rapidly. We had moved on past just the 5, 6, 7 stores. You were in the rapid fire succession of the next 8 stores that came pretty quick. And I feel like you did a really good job at rolling out culture and giving people something to believe in. Do you want to talk about that just for a couple minutes, about how you felt like that worked? And I mean, you and I've had some pretty funny sideline conversations. I mean, we've compared it to the Roasters cult, of like, there was a cult of personality. Like there was a strong draw of culture within Roasters, for better or for worse. And maybe you want to talk about leading from a place of culture like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody speaks a different language. And so being a good leader is always about meeting people where they're at and understanding, what they want. And like Ben said, these kids wanted a place to belong. People want something to believe in. And, as long as they're not where they want to be at the end, they don't want to do that when they're 45, 50 years old, but they're there right now. So we might as well enjoy it and do our best while we're here.
Yeah.
And when you can get these, when you get the groups of people together and you do have a message and you believe in, I believed in the message. I still believe in the message of, high quality service, and you can speak on it in a way which, people can hang on to, and speak on it in a way which helps them not only develop their skills within a coffee shop, but, within themselves to lead, more organized, more fulfilling, more inspired lives. It really affects them. And I think one of the ways which the culture kind of developed was everybody kind of felt together, even across shops. They felt like they were part of something that was growing. And even when we had little problems, because young kids are going to have little problems here and there of someone said something that upset them a week ago and they never talked about it. And just allowing people to problem solve and giving them the opportunity, giving them the floor to, speak how they feel, which is not always, it's not always the end result is how you feel is right, but at least having a platform to be themselves and be honest about it, and giving people opportunities to fix these problems on their own. You rally the troops when people feel like they're, oh my gosh, I can be myself here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm learning about myself here. I might not agree with all these people that I work with, but at least I know that we can get along at work, and maybe go play what did we do, frisbee golf on the weekends or something. It's something that's not too emotionally stimulating, but Yeah, it was, I mean, I had a great time, and most of the people that worked there, I think, had a great time for a long period of time too.
Yeah.
And there was something to connect with about, what some of the most important things you do in your day are things you're going to do for other people. And you might not see it that way at the time. Sometimes it's like, oh man, I have to serve these people right now. I'm tired. I was out too late last night, but it's satisfying at the end of the day to know that you did a good job. And these people, they really do rely on baristas, even though they're just young kids, having fun. It's a really huge part of most people's days.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, obviously, Drew, you were going to take it so far as to franchise. I mean, you saved up a ton of cash. You were going to go off on your own. You were one of the, Ben and I spent freaking months of our lives building out the franchise agreement for roasters, and we had a couple of people posed, but you were at the top of the list, and you had saved and saved and saved for a couple of years to get to where you were going to go launch this thing. So you believed in it enough that you were going to go and take it off on your own.
Mhm.
And so I think that it says something of a strong cultural visionary who's able to set the tone. But I will say, I think that Ben brought a lot of balance, and it probably started with Taryn in the very beginning, where Taryn brought a lot of balance to Wes in the beginning of bringing order to it, and I think things of like the magic binder,
Yep.
that have evolved over time, and are now like an employee handbook and some different things that we call it now, but had all of this stuff in it that Wes would just say off the top of his head. Or I know Wes ran the first stand and had his way of doing it, but really Wes exited pretty quickly, and had people backfill in pretty quickly as we began to get more stands in. So I think that need for order, because otherwise it's really hard to disseminate vision in a way that's palatable unless you give them something tangible. I don't know if you guys want to speak to that just a little bit.
Yeah, it just sounds like smoke and mirrors if you can't back it up.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a verbal game.
It really is like you need somebody as a visionary, you need somebody who's like the employees can go to, if dad says no, go ask mom, or if mom's yelling, go ask dad. Like there does have to be that operational person where people are like, I don't want to talk to the CEO. No way. I can go talk to this guy, or the CEO said something crazy. Let me go talk to the ops person, like get the actual details on what's supposed to be happening. You need that, those two working in tandem. It requires a really good relationship, because the CEO has to trust the ops person that the ops person isn't going to sideline what they actually want, what their vision is,
Yeah.
and it's actually going to back up their vision. And the ops person has to trust the visionary that they're not going to go on some weird, wild, tangent that they have to play cleanup for the next year and try and muster the people behind them. And if that relationship is good, it can really hurt a company. But if it is good, it can be super helpful and really push a company forward, because those two working in tandem can feed off each other really well.
Yeah. Tasha, I feel I never got to know Jeff very well. I mean, obviously Ryan, his brother, is super good friend of mine, and we've gotten involved in Human Being Reno over time. But it sounds like Jeff was a pretty classic visionary, as far as had a lot of vision, had a lot of direction. And it sounds like you played a lot of the ops cleanup, where it was like he would just hand something to you, and you were the one to take it and kind of go with it. Do you want to talk to that just a little bit? We'd love to hear your experience.
Yeah, definitely. No, Jeff was great. And it's good because sometimes I'm not such a visionary person. I'm kind of a realistic, and I can make things happen if you just tell me what you want done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I feel like we actually worked really well together, because he was a visionary, but he wasn't I hate to use this word, but clueless, drop it off and leave. He was kind of like, okay, so are you doing it? Are you making it happen? Do what you got to do to make this happen for me. But kind of just what Ben was saying, I feel like you need or whoever, the yin and the yang, you have to kind of have both sides. But in the same token, I could come off as just by the book, general, not fun, So I feel like a visionary is definitely needed when it comes to the structure of the business and the culture of it, honestly.
Yeah.
Believe me, I got the nickname of the no man in the company.
Yeah,
Go
you
Ben
did.
if you want to know.
And pulling back, really, the sheet probably, the truth is that there was some frustration from Ben in that, of things that were made decisions on, and Ben was like, no, that's not possible. And then Wes being frustrated that Ben wouldn't make something happen. And there was a lot of friction behind the scenes. And so I think that's where it does have to come back to that mutual respect of you're probably not talking the same language.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to see it from each other's perspective, because you're probably both very passionate about the way you think it has to go. And there probably is some sort of meat in the middle, you know?
Totally. Yeah. Well, and it was like Jeff not being with his feet on the ground. It sounded like Wes, his feet were on the ground, but Jeff's weren't like that. So it was hard when he would come up with these plans or these ideas. And I was like, wait, no, that is absolutely not going to work at all. That is not even how it's done now, you know? So things like that. I feel like the visionary person really needs to be involved if they really want to have a clear understanding of what's going on and be prepared for that no answer by the no man. If that has to happen.
No, that's good. I think it's, you know, for EOS there, it's the visionary and the integrator. Like those are the two sides of the coin, you know, as you read the book Traction, or if you read like Rocket Fuel, one of Gino's other books, like I think it talks a lot about it takes them both. It takes the one that's got the fire and the passion and the desire, and the guy that's going to be the rallier and the magnate and the one that draws people to him. But at the same time, left to themselves, and I can tell you this because I feel like I become a lot of times the trusted confidant to that person as I try and help them speak the language of the operations person. That's why Ben and I got so close, is because Ben and I are so well wired, very, very similar. But I would hear a lot of Wes's frustrations and have to translate for Wes. No, the way Ben feels is because it's like this, and then come back to Ben and say, okay, so the way Wes is feeling is it like I became like the connecting point.
Yeah.
But I think that it's so important, I think, to realize it takes the visionary. It takes so much pressure off of them when they realize they don't have to be the whole thing. You know, I think now having done this for a lot of years now, what I'll notice is that people will begin to rise. And then they hit a certain lid where they're like, do I even want to be the CEO anymore? Like, and then they want to exit as CEO because they were a born visionary, but they feel so much pressure as having to be the lead, the CEO of the company. It's too much, you know. And I've probably seen it half a dozen times where the visionary who started it grew it, and then as the CEO was like, I think we need to hire a CEO because I don't want to really do all the managing of all the things that I grew. I would love to keep coming up with vision, but I don't want the practical organization. I don't want the practical management. And I think if the visionary could recognize, no, it's okay for you to not know what to do with all that you want to see done, and value that other person. That's your ops person. That's what your COO should be. You know, that's what Ben's position is Wes, give us your vision, but realize there's some practical nuts and bolts, especially the bigger and bigger you get. Big ships turn slow. You know what I mean? Like you can't just jerk the ship. You're going to lose half the people and all the cargo off the side of it. Let's take some slow steps. Okay, is that where you want to get to? Awesome. How can we like orderly and move that direction in a way that's going to make sense, that it's not going to do damage? And it's that patience, the visionary, to realize sometimes visionaries really like how agile their business was at a smaller size. And when they get to a certain size, they feel so overwhelmed because they feel like they have to manage this whole thing instead of realizing, no, your role has always been, give us the vision, let us flesh it out. Just realize the bigger it gets, the longer it probably is going to take for us to move things. And that's okay. We can still get there. Just decide what the big things are and really helping them get to those big decisions.
Definitely.
Then I know when we brought in Derek, that was a big shift. You know, Derek at Roasters West was really hitting that lid as the visionary, doesn't want to carry the day-to-day anymore. And Derek was a really good shift in that, where he came along as the CFO, working alongside of you as the COO, and you guys really trying to make some good decisions. And I feel like in my mind, if I had to go back and look at Roasters, the best era of our organization was when we started to put some more of those like dialed in frameworks in place. Because I do feel like it did hold some constraint on Wes wasn't able to just go do whatever he wanted to do anymore. And I don't think he liked that, but I do think that it helped us stay on a consistent trajectory of dialing things in. Do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, we had gotten to the point where it was a little bit of like duct tape and spit up to that point. Like you get to a point, you're like, okay, 15 locations is just, it's too much for, you know, to have a visionary who's like, we're going here, we're going here, we're going here. And only one person like myself going, no. Okay, maybe we can do it. Okay, give us some time.
Yeah.
I think when we realized that having a CEO come in and run it not as a visionary, but as just as a CEO, that was the tightest that we got for that short amount of time. Just in the even their overall attitude of the employees going, okay, it's not so, you know, knee jerky, like people were able to get into a rhythm, not like a funk or a rut, but like a rhythm of, okay, I can see where we're going. I can anticipate what's going to happen. I'm not going to, you know, 3 months down the road, I'm not going to get jolted over some brand new direction or some brand new product that we, you know, didn't know about was coming down the road or anything like that. So it was a super tight period of time. I highly recommend that. There's something about, I think one of the other things too is that visionaries like being able to be messy. And so in a small company, it's really easy to be messy as a CEO. You can like that. You should be doing that. You should be testing new things, tossing new things, starting new things, and just, you know, making a mess and basically having a sandbox to play in. But once you get to that 15th location, 16th location, 20th location, like you have to think that, okay, now your sandbox is the lives of 175 people too. You can't really sandbox play with them that much. So that's probably why a lot of those visionaries are like, I can't do this anymore. I can't play around anymore. I want to go play somewhere. So bring a CEO in who's going to take your vision with the COO and sort of be able to carry your vision. And then you can have your sandbox in some other area and come in and just drop nuggets that you've played around with in the sandbox. And you found this really, really cool one. Then you can bring it back and this is the vision for the company. But to just have a total sandbox out of a company when it becomes that large it's detrimental. So I think it's really good for CEOs to step out at that point.
Something we did at the very beginning, and I'm going to share my screen real quick. You know, and this is all heading towards, obviously, in this section, we're going to talk about tools that allow a visionary and an integrator to speak a language that everybody understands in the organization. That way you can scale, right? The way that you scale is by giving people stepping stones to get to where you want to climb to. I think at the beginning, it's all spit and grit. Like Ben was saying, like Wes pulled huge equity out of his house. Wes was a self-made man, came from nothing, you know, so pulled equity out of his house to buy the second one and like begged, borrowed, and stole to get the third one. And like did some pretty risky stuff to get to the place where now you've built up enough momentum where it's going to, like that momentum is going to build and all those stores pulling in unison is going to get you somewhere. But once you get to a certain size of a company, like you can't live like that anymore. It's too risky. It's too crazy. It's too much, you know? And I think that was what Wes started feeling a lot of, was just too much. Like it's too much. And so that's why we started bringing in elevated Ben, brought in the Derek, started to line some stuff out. But this is one of the first exercises we did as Wes exited. And that was, we did, and you guys both were there, I think, for this. This was like our first quarterly planning where we came, and this was the beginning of what led into a lot of our EOS rollout for L10s and things downstream. But this was, let's write down on the page every issue that you guys know that we're facing. Like, tell me everything that you know that's going on in the company, everything that you feel like needs to be addressed. And then you can see the erased part. So this is the erased version. This was the final. There was a lot more here.
First.
What you do is first thing you do is you just write it all out, write it all down, get everything up on the whiteboard, and then you kill and combine, right? Okay, that sounds a lot like this one. Are you guys okay if we erase these two and combine it into this one? Okay, this one sounds a lot like this one. Let's erase these two and let's combine it into this one. And then from there, what you can build out is your rock sheet, right? This is the sheet where we began to take each one of those individual things that were called out and assigned them to different people and called them each person's rocks. Like these were the big initiatives that we were saying, hey, these are all big things. Some of them went to the VTO tracker, right? The vision traction organizer, where it's like, hey, this is a good project for future, but not right now. These are the things that are most addressed in this next quarter, and we're going to attack those things out from there. And so from there, it became our rocks. But I think this is always a fun exercise because you give people a voice. Hey guys, tell me what's going on. And so we asked people to be thinking about it before we got there. And then we went through, and you can see, you know, we went through and assigned things out. This became Dina's stuff. This up here became Derek's stuff. This became some of Ben's stuff. You know, like as you go through, you see different, here's Jordan. Like here's through stuff. Like there's different pieces where you begin to break it all out, and those become not only each rock, you know, the rocks for that quarter, but rocks for the quarter beyond and the quarter beyond that. And you can begin to escalate things to where do we want to be at the end of this year? And that's told this by the story of how many different issues that we can come up with and what ones are the highest priority now. We just did this actually on the L10 for Human Being Reno today. We talked about, hey, we kicked ass this first quarter, and Human Being Reno did awesome. First iteration through EOS and the rocks, like kicked ass, like completed almost every single one. I think we're going to have them all complete by the end of this month. And then it gives us the fuel for the fire for, okay, so what's next level evolution for moving these things forward next quarter? Drew, Ben, do you guys want to talk? This is a fun meeting upstairs at Resilient.
It was a long day.
It was a long
What do you guys think? So this was, obviously I had done this a lot before, but this was you guys' first time at it. What were your thoughts about it?
It was cathartic. Like,
We had never done anything like this before. Ben,
Yeah.
you and I had worked together for years and we had never done something like this as an organization, but it was because Wes exited and I had Derek and I'm like, let's do this the right way. And I pull everybody in.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was nice to be like, okay, brass tacks, here we go. Here's all the things that I haven't been able to get a yes or no on for the last, however long.
The last decade.
Yeah, good. Let's talk about this. It was, a lot of it too, I think a lot of it even became just sort of like a cathartic experience. This has been like the thorn in my side for so long. I just want to say it so everybody else knows about it too. And I don't even care if we get it done tomorrow, we can get it done next year. I just want somebody to know about the freaking Wi-Fi in that one shop. Sucks.
Better Wi-Fi pricing.
Like, can we please can I get a bigger budget for better Wi-Fi? Anybody ever says to me when I come into the store is the Wi-Fi sucks here, and I go, sorry, I can't do anything about it.
Tasha, see, not everybody, you're not the only one that struggles with Wi-Fi. We all do it.
But it was a great experience, and we did get really good rocks out of it. I think this was the start to a really well organized structure within the company that we actually were able to. The cool thing was we were actually able to get a lot of stuff done, like a lot of big projects that we wanted done, because they weren't just floating out in the ether anymore.
Yeah, I mean, this is where scorecards came out of, right? This is where we really started tracking metrics, because I think one of the biggest heartburns that a lot of CEOs have is they don't understand clear numbers, like what are we tracking, or it's so scattered and it's so like shotgun scatter fire that it's like certain numbers become really, really important at certain times, and then you back off those numbers. They're not important anymore. And now this is the new number that's really important, and then they back off that number. And now, no, he heard about this, and this is the new number that's really important. But instead of realizing, no, let's just consistently look at same numbers. We can all decide what those numbers should be, and let's see how they track and how they grow. And I know like this L10 with Tasha, we just came off of, like seeing things like the app traction really grow as Tasha puts focus on it. Hey, let's do a competition amongst all the shops, and let's really see how many people we can get to adapt into the app. And when you put focus on something and you can begin to see those numbers rise, I feel like that feels good, because we're watching it week over week, and we've said this number is important to us, and we can watch it, over first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and see where we end up. That feels good and gives you something to celebrate downstream too. Ben or Drew, what was your experience when we did this? What was your thought?
Well, it was nice because the management team, we were always, pretty close as far as communications goes. So we were pretty open about our frustrations in certain departments. And but we all sat down for, what was it, like 8 hours, 6 hours or something, like almost a whole day.
It was a day of planning. It was a
whole day.
Yeah.
And so we could hash out, exactly, we could find the source of the problem. We had time to talk about it, and we were, we had to talk about it rather than just complain about it and move on to the next thing. So I think it was really productive in that sense. We could, I'd be like, hey, Ben, what's this thing I've been asking you about for weeks? And then he'd be like, hey, Drew, same thing back to you. But about this other thing. And it gave us all time to sit down, and it was like a powwow, it was like, we got honest and we got real about the problems we were all facing, and some of them were real problems, some of them were stemming from other underlying issues. And I thought it was fantastic. I thought that it was, like Ben said, it was cathartic, and not in a good way. And it brought us all together, and then we all started heading the same direction instead of turning circles around in our own heads.
And man, not to like pat us on the back or like make us feel like we're better than we are, but I will say this: I felt like we got it really tight, like over the next course of 6, 8, 9 months, year. I feel like we got this system really, really dialed in, to the point of when BlackRock came in and ended up buying out Roasters and ended up putting in, the district head over the area, and came in and started sitting in on our L10 meetings. You could tell like she had never seen anything like what we were doing before. Like, and she would talk about their meetings, and it just sounded like chaos. It sounded like exactly what we had experienced with Roasters all those years, except for now you have hundreds of locations. And if you're not operating from a script Like, this is the way we do meetings. And this is how things escalate. They escalate from our issues list to our to-dos, to bigger things or rocks. And we accomplish these rocks. And the whole purpose of that is to get us from this point to this point on some orderly manner with milestones to get us there. Like, if you don't have some sort of order that you're operating from, it's chaos. Like, a visionary without order is chaos. And I think that trying to get just simple systems in place. I know we talk a lot about EOS, and we're going to talk about that next week as well, of just how this all fleshes out. But the whole purpose is getting everybody working from the same operating system, like everybody using same words, same speak, same thought pattern. Because if you can get collective inertia, like I just did a rollout for a sales team today with this particular client. We already got their leadership team doing L10s, and now we're rolling it down to the sales team doing L10s. And I know the same company, Ben's rolling out, from the operations perspective, doing L10s, and Savannah's rolling out this customer experience team doing L10s. And when you get everybody departmentally all speaking the same language, and then it trickles all the way up to the top for the leadership team, I think that you begin to collectively band everybody together and push the same direction. So it's still the visionary, right? You need the visionary. Like we talked about at the beginning, the absence of the visionary creates this vacuum, because then it's all systems, but no vision. But I think on the flip side, without the systems, the vision just runs helter skelter. And then I truly believe the visionary ends up burning himself out. It becomes too big. It's too much. And then they choke out at the level of detail, and they're not wired for details, but they feel the pressure of having to come up with a system for details instead of saying, no, engage. All I'm asking from you, engage. This is the system. Like, don't worry about it. You come to us with your vision, and this is the system we'll use to build it out. And I think it really helps when you can set just consistent, simple set order to vision. I know we've rolled out a couple different operating systems with Collab Team for different clients who've gotten excited about different programs. And Ben, I know you can speak to that a little bit, that it's too organized. It's too much. Like, it's too cumbersome. Like, I think that's one of the beauties of EOS is we're not talking about anything super crazy here. We're talking about simple systems to keep us all on track. So,
and it really lets the visionary do what they do best, which is cast vision. And every time we roll it out with the team goes, oh my God, thank you. Because like our CEO may be the best CEO in the world, maybe be the best founder, and they've got this great idea, but we don't know how to get there. And 9 times out of 10, the visionary doesn't know how to get there either, because that's not what they're good at. They're good at creating it, the idea of the vision and where they want to go. So the pathway to get there, everybody's just sort of left wandering around going, how do we do this? I don't know. I'm going to try really hard to do my job, and hopefully it's enough. But with at least a set system, your people are happy because now they have like a breadcrumb trail they can follow behind the visionary who's out running in front, like all these great ideas. And the visionary doesn't have to constantly be looking over their shoulder saying, are my people doing what they're supposed to be doing? No, we both know there's a really good track for us to stay on, and I can get my job done and feel good about being successful in my position. The visionary is happy because they can cast an idea and actually it's translated down well enough for the people to be able to follow them and create the thing they want to create. So it makes both sides happy.
Tasha, I would love your feedback. I know I'm putting you on the spot, and so you don't have to answer the way that I want you to answer. I want to hear honest answer. That's the thing I love about Tasha. Tasha is just to say it like it is, girl. I love that about you. So I like just some honest feedback from you. Like, I know us rolling out EOS with Human Being Reno was probably different than things that you had done before, and just like, it's a different format, it's different set. I told the guys that I met with today on that sales team, hey, listen, I know nobody likes new. I know new systems are tough to get used to. Like, it's new and it's sucky, and a lot of people don't necessarily like super rigid form, but I don't want to put any of that on you. What were your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What has been your experience? We've done a quarter now in EOS. What are your thoughts on how it's felt?
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, I love structure and guidelines, and I feel like that's something that any business can utilize. And I think my managers like it more. Being told what you're looking for or what I'm looking for in their direction. I think holding people accountable is huge. And how can I hold them accountable if there's not an expectation set or like told what that is not fair. So I love it. I'm all for it. Of course, some things don't work. And I feel like I've told you guys, I'm like, nah, this isn't going to work, but 9 times out of 10, everything that you guys have rolled out has been totally beneficial to us.
Yeah. Do you feel like, what do you feel like about our L10 meetings? Do you feel like that the order helps us keep on point on the things that are important? Like, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, our L10s I think are great. I feel like I think we did probably a month before we actually switched over to L10, and I just feel like it wasn't very structured, or I would forget to like put something on there, and now I know, and so it helps me prepare for it. Like I know that I need to go through my L10 sections before our meeting and make sure I did everything I was supposed to do. It's just really great. I feel like the expectation of what I'm walking into, what we're discussing, I can see the issues that other people are bringing forth too, which is kind of nice. Like, you know what everybody's coming forward with. My question to you is, or Ben and Drew, did you guys ever do L10s with your managers? I mean, I go to like a lunch sit down kind of thing every 2 weeks, but I've questioned doing an L10 with them and just having it on their brain and their radars to put information in there and keep it structured as well.
I love Tasha. Look at her taking next level stuff.
As long as I was there, we hadn't yet rolled it out to managers. I wish we had.
Yeah.
Because we had our manager meetings, every 2 weeks, and it was very just like, hey, let's all talk about the good things that happen. Okay, bye. Like 2 hours of my life are gone, and
I remember, Ben, I remember you saying about manager meetings, you would leave and you just be like, what a freaking waste of time. Like, by the end of manager meetings.
Really, it was, because I was like, I can go out to lunch with you guys anytime. Like, I don't need to take 2 hours out of the day for us to go to lunch together. And that's really, like, from the culture standpoint, it was great. Like, it was building culture with managers, but you can do that with a structured meeting so that all parties, when they leave, they go, okay, cool. We have deliverables. I feel good because I got done what was asked of me prior. It wasn't just a waste of my day. Like, this is actually productive. And I wish we'd done that with our location managers, because I think it'd be fantastic to have your location managers coming with deliverables that they're working on their shops, with scorecards that come directly from their shops. And it's a great way to sort of praise your managers when they do well on their scorecards.
Yeah, no, and I mean, my biggest thing is I can talk everybody's ear off and tell them what to do, but holding them accountable is always hard if you don't have an exact way or a measurable task at hand. So I think that's what I like about the L10. I come in there sometimes, I'm like, I did not do that. And it's embarrassing in front of everybody to have me like, shit, I dropped the ball. You know what I mean? And so I feel like that's the type of stuff that holds me accountable. I don't want to be the one letting my team down. And I don't want everyone to see that I just drop the ball all week.
I think that right there, I think, is one of the most powerful things. And it sounds terrible because I don't like, and I don't think, and I should probably say this out of the gates, I don't think it's ever good to live from a shame-based culture. I don't think that ever lasts. I think that people may toe the line for a while, but they end up resenting shame. But I do think when it's self-imposed, when you walk in and you're like, I don't want to show up and look, because I'm the same way, Tasha. Every time I show up and like I didn't do my metrics or I didn't do my to-dos, I'm like, I let everybody down, damn it. And I'm gonna need to focus on this more. And it actually does put like attention on things that normally we won't put attention on, right? Like all of us, no matter how disciplined we are, there are going to be things that we like are averse to. We don't like doing that. We don't want to do that. We're going to put that off, procrastinate on it. But like when it's on your when it's part of your L10, like you have a backstop, like I'm going to have to show up and look like a jackass if I don't get that done. Like that will move people to get their stuff done that normally they might not get done. And then it keeps it from becoming a discipline issue. Because I think that's the tough part for your role, Tasha, is like, how many times can you say the same thing to this person without it becoming a disciplinary issue, But I think,
like, and it's no harm, no foul. You move on and you move it to the next L10. But I mean, if it's week after week, then it's up for discussion and it's easy traceable. But I also, on another side of things, like feel that I can bring what I need to the table. It makes me think about it and also just put it on there. Right now, the way the meetings go, I feel like I do a lot of the talking. And if the manager has something to address, oh yeah, I remember that. Let's talk about that. It just is easier. You think about it for a whole week duration. You can put your notes and your thoughts on there, and it helps them get involved and active too. It's not just me talking or me bringing up things. It's kind of just all parties involved.
I think it's been cool to watch, and then Drew, I want to hear your point on that too. I think it's been cool to watch you, Tasha, of like, you've always had access to all these different things, but it's like, until we start like laser focusing onto things, it's hard to know what should I be paying attention to. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different things I could be paying attention to. And so I think even like along this topic of managers, a lot of times they have so many things that they're supposed to be paying attention to. And until you can start drilling down on, no, these are the 5 or 10 things I want you to really be focused on. And I think at that, I know I'm talking about the last meeting I just came out of, but at the sales meeting I just came out of, he had a really good idea of, hey, let's break out the different sales leads that all have sales teams under them. And let's have the scorecard reflect for each one of those teams, you know what I mean? So that each one of those teams has to come and show their metrics, share their metrics. So then you're teaching the manager the numbers that are important that you're watching, and the manager has to watch every manager go through what their numbers are, you know? So then there's that like competitive spirit that maybe they don't get if they don't see numbers like that, or don't see that the key metrics are important. I think it could be cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I think that I'm gonna start going that route.
Drew, what were you gonna say? Do you have stuff you want to add in on that?
I was just saying Tasha's point. That was a fantastic point, getting people involved. I think that a lot of times, you know, especially new managers feel self-conscious about their ideas, self-conscious about, you know, their thoughts and the problems they think are problems. They think only they're dealing with, but it's probably a community thing. So giving everybody a voice, I think that's just huge. It's for, you know, operations and for culture, because then they all feel like a team, and the management team is a team, even though they all run different stores. They're like one solid unit everybody looks to.
I think that the issues list could be cool with that too, Tasha, of if all your managers put down their issues and then they hear each other talk about the issues, a lot of times you can crowdsource solutions that are probably not only a pain point for that stand. That's probably this person over here maybe dealing with it too, or maybe is just starting to realize that it's a problem. Whereas this one here that might have been around for a while has some experience that they can speak to that. But until you give them an open forum and a list that they're dropping their issues into, you might have had to wait 6 months for that to come up randomly. But if it comes up on a list like that and people see it and it sparks conversation, I bet there could be some cool like things that come out of that whole IDS section and issues where it's like identify, discuss, and solve.
Well, and me too. I mean, a text message at 5 o'clock at night, something going on, it doesn't seem as important on my radar, or it's something that gets lost. You know what I mean? So having an issues list that I'm looking at every week or every other week and what's important to my managers holds me accountable as well.
Yeah, that's good.